Okay, we have returned, and we are going to start case number 22. A Pirate's Death for Me. We left Cape Verde a week ago aboard the HMS Highmore, Matthew, and I'm still sick as a dog. It's definitely not a pirate's life for me. Where's your sense of adventure, Jack? Did you ever imagine you'd be swashbuckling on the open waves? Please stop talking about waves. While this might be an adventure, we're not here for a pleasure cruise. We travel back to the Age of Sail after learning the Ptolemies seized control of the maritime trade routes. It was this manipulation of the timeline that ultimately led to the Ptolemies' rise to power in 2029. We've learned Louis XV is selling ownership of his ports and plantations, which the Egyptian trading company plans to bid on at the Tortuga auction. If we're to restore the timeline, we must stop them from winning that auction. Pardon me, Privateer Matthew, but we're about to dock in Port Braxton to stock up on supplies. Aye aye, Captain. Looks like you'll get to stretch your sea legs, Jack. I think we'd all enjoy a few hours on dry land. You don't have to ask me twice. Come on, Matthew, let's go. This is more like it, Matthew. If I wasn't so grungy, I'd kiss the ground. Look, Matthew, isn't that Blackbeard over there? You're right. I've seen drawings of him in the Time Historical Archives. Blackbeard's the most fearsome pirate that ever lived. You there, privateers, what you be looking at? Nothing, Mr. Beard. I don't normally consort with your kind, but I'm feeling particularly jovial today. Join me for a bit of scuttlebutt. Well, we really shouldn't scuttle. Nonsense, sit. But first, an orange to your health to keep the scurvy away. Zooterkins, I've been poisoned. Curse the scoundrel who dared. My God, Matthew! Blackbeard's collapsed. He's dead. Blackbeard said this was poison. Look, it must be in his orange. The juice is all blue. This tavern is now a crime scene, Matthew, so let's spread out and look for clues. If the most powerful pirate in history really was poison, all hell will break loose if the crime goes unsolved. We must figure out who did this. See the funnel. Oh, there we go. Oh, but I still got the first star anyway. Nice. But I would have had it anyway. This is crazy, Matthew. 1 minute we're talking to history's most infamous pirate, then bam, he drops dead before our eyes. History teaches that Blackbeard was killed in battle at sea. Being poisoned with an orange was not his destiny. Could this be a symptom of the Ptolemies altering the timeline? Or maybe it's part of the cause? Either way, we must get to the bottom of it. Let's have Janice examine that poisoned orange as well as the victim's body. That broken mug was dropped by Blackbeard, so let's put it back together. And although everyone fled the scene in the commotion, rifling through that pile of junk might tell us who else was here. Well, nice. We already have the murder weapon. Instead of waiting towards the end of the case. So I'm gonna get some more stars, so sit tight, everybody. Alright, I got myself up to 7 stars, so... Got it. The wooden mug Blackbeard dropped seems to belong to a certain Lincoln Matuzak. Whoever Mr. Matuzak is, it's likely he ran off with the rest of the tavern's patrons. Let's go find him. And of course, it has been extremely hot lately in my home state of Hawaii. That's why I don't have a shirt on. Mr. Matuzak, are you here? Yeah, man, Lincoln be here, but I be the only one. That murder has everyone spooked. The Crow's Nest be my tavern, see? I was inside, pouring the drinks. When out the blue, me hear them screaming and running, and Blackbeard be dead. What was Blackbeard doing just before he was killed? Did you see anyone give him an orange? There be so many pirates in here, making a fuss and a scuffle. I be seeing nothing. I swear on the Jesus, man. And you don't happen to sell oranges here by any chance? Nah, man, them be sold at the dockside market. And the market is where we should go next. Come on, Matthew. We'll get the junk pile out of the way first. Wooden eye. Matthew, that ball you found on that pile of junk, that's a wooden eye. Gross. What's that doing in this garbage? It's... Oi, what are you doing with my eye? Give it back. Gladly. And who might you be? Name's Rags. I'm a crewman on the Black Sparrow. I swabbed the decks. The Black Sparrow? That's Blackbeard's ship, Matthew. Let's have a word with Mr. Rags. Now who are you lot? Bunch of eye stealers. We're looking into Blackbeard's murder. You must have been here when it happened. What? The captain is dead? I go out the back to relieve myself like a proper gentleman and Blackbeard gets killed? Yes, someone gave him a poisoned orange. An orange? They're supposed to be healthy. Keeps away the scurvy and all that. Can you think of anyone who might want to harm... I've heard some zingers, but a pirate killed by an orange? That's crazy. I think I'm going to be sick. Oh gosh. We won't get anything useful out of Rags right now, Matthew. Let's come back when he's sobered up. Gladly. Faded paper. Sorry guys, camera ran out of film time. So it doesn't look like I'm going to get the first star. Nope. Lincoln Matuzak was right. The orange used to poison Blackbeard probably came from this market, Matthew. Even better, it could have come from that orange crate you found. Let's open that lock. Speaking of poison, look at the symbol on that scuffed paper. Could this have anything to do with the murder? Let's give it a good dusting. And we will. But I need to get a few more stars. So sit tight, everybody. Alright, I got myself up to 10 stars. Oh no. 12S. 8UH. XN9. It's likely this crate is where the killer got that orange, Matthew, but how can we track them down? Wait, there's a trademark on the crate's lid. Isola Aldred's Fresh Fruits. Miss Aldred might have sold the orange to Blackbeard's killer. We must talk to her at once. Bananas, want a bunch for a farthing, one bunch for a farthing, get them while they're fresh. Excuse us, Miss Aldred, is this your crate of oranges? It's got my name on it, doesn't it? I'm the only one in Port Braxton who sells them. We're investigating the murder of Blackbeard. He was poisoned with an orange from this market. So the infamous Blackbeard is dead? With his reputation, I'm not surprised. That's why I don't have anything to do with pirates. I'm a landlubber through and through. Can you remember anyone buying oranges this morning? Are you joking? There's people coming and going all the time. Anybody could have bought that orange. Now, unless you're buying something, I have customers waiting. Poison drawing, 7 energy additional. Look at this drawing, Matthew. It's a diagram of a syringe being inserted into an orange. So that's how the killer poisoned Blackbeard's fruit. Which means this must be the killer's paper. But what are those numerical sequences? And why is the word liar written here? Let's send this paper to Orlando. Maybe he can make sense of this. See you guys, 3 hours, and both of these are done. So for now, this is Matthew. I'll see you soon. Still pretty hot outside, but welcome back, everyone. Let's get the results of the autopsy of Blackbeard. It's been a while since I've had a historical figure on my slab, Matthew. The infamous Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard. It's one thing to meet historical icons in the flesh, but watching them drop dead in front of us is something else entirely. I can imagine. The orange the victim bit into was infused with tetrodotoxin, an extremely lethal venom found in pufferfish. Tetrodotoxin is 1,200 times more poisonous than cyanide, so it's no wonder Blackbeard was dead in a matter of seconds. A pirate like Blackbeard would have dozens of enemies who'd be happy to see him dead. But who would have actually done this? Well, poison wasn't the only substance I found, Matthew. I detected traces of a sugarcane-based alcohol on the Rhine, which I determined is rum. Strange as it may seem for a pirate, Blackbeard hasn't ingested any rum before he was killed. which means the residue was left behind by the killer. Rum's a very common drink in this era, Matthew. Nevertheless, this will narrow our search for Blackbeard's killer. Have you made any progress with the killer's note, Orlando? Are those numbers related to how the killer injected Blackbeard's orange with poison? At first I suspected the numbers were part of some secret code, or perhaps nautical coordinates. But then I thought about that word liar, and I realized these are scores for a game of chance, liar's dice to be exact. There are many variations of the game, but essentially each player has a hand of 5 dice and a small cup to conceal their throws. These scores from a version of liar's dice called common hand. It's an archaic form of poker. The 5 dice work like cards, you see. A player can have 2 pairs, a full house, a straight, just like in poker. Trust you to have a knowledge of such an obscure gambling reference. Remember Las Vegas, Matthew? I am somewhat of a gambling aficionado. And it would appear that your killer is also a keen gambler, an expert at liar's dice. Well, Matthew, the killer might be an expert dice player, but they can't lie their way out of this. I was really looking forward to stretching my sea legs in Port Braxton, Matthew. But no sooner have we set foot on dry land, we're caught up in the middle of a murder. The infamous Blackbeard, the most feared pirate in history, drops dead in front of our eyes, poisoned by an orange of all things. And yet everyone we've spoken to claims they know nothing. Lincoln Matuzak, the owner of the Crow's Nest Tavern, says he was busy serving drinks when Blackbeard was killed. Isola Aldred, who works at the market where the poison orange came from, couldn't tell us who bought it. And Rags, one of Blackbeard's crewmen, he's 3 sheets to the wind. Still, I can't help being a little thrilled by this investigation. It is Blackbeard after all. And we're standing here next to the Black Sparrow, the most renowned pirate ship of the 7 seas. Isn't it, Marv? Man overboard. Wait, did someone shout man overboard? Oh boy. I wonder if they say woman overboard, if it's a girl that's gone over this, if it's gone overboard. I wonder what they say if it's a woman. I should, for better grammar purposes. We'll see you guys for Chapter 2. And we're back. Let's start Chapter 2 of A Pirate's Death for Me. We last left off with someone saying man overboard. That was it. Help! Was that Orlando, Matthew? He's fallen in the water. What was he doing on the Black Sparrow? We'll worry about that later. Orlando can't swim, so we better get him out of there. Thank goodness you were here, Matthew. I was on the deck of the Black Sparrow and lost my footing. We're glad you're safe, Orlando, but what were you doing on Blackbeard's ship? Pure historical curiosity. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to see this magnificent ship for myself. We share your enthusiasm, but there are ruthless pirates about. You shouldn't have been there alone. But you're right, Matthew. Blackbeard was the captain of the Black Sparrow, which means we should search his quarters for clues. Only, let's dry off first. we go, open drawer. There we go. Okay. So these are Blackbeard's quarters. No wonder Orlando was eager to come aboard. You're right, Matthew. We're here to find clues, and searching through Blackbeard's desk drawer is a good place to start. But check out this wanted poster, Whoever this pirate is, Blackbeard wasn't a fan. He stabbed a knife into her picture. There were numerous female pirates in this period, but I can't place this one. Let's cross-reference her drawing with our historical archives. And this compass you found has the Egyptian Trading Company emblem on it, Matthew. The first physical trace we have of the Egyptian fleet. This could be a valuable clue towards finding out more about them, so let's dust off the rest of this compass. Moment, folks. Alright. I got 4 of the stars there. The last one a little later. Got it. A poem. Matthew, there's nothing in Blackbeard's drawer except a bunch of nautical equipment and a poem of some kind. Wait, this poem's called The Last Voyage of Blackbeard. And listen to the first lines. In a venomous veil, Blackbeard departs. The fatal fruit, his final foe. Venomous veil, fatal fruit. That sounds like Blackbeard's murder. This poem must have been written by his killer. This poem could shed some light on Blackbeard's killer, Matthew, so let's have Orlando examine it. Hopefully he's dried off from his unscheduled swim. It surprises me that Orlando does not know how to swim, especially at his age. The 9, it's Mary Read. Of course, Matthew. The pirate on this wanted poster is Mary Read. She was one of the first women to be convicted of piracy in the 18th century. That hasn't happened yet, so we obviously won't mention that. But clearly she and Blackbeard were rivals, which makes Miss Read a prime suspect. Let's track her down. Join me for a bottle of rum, privateers, or perhaps a game of liar's dice. We'd actually like to ask you about this poster. You and Blackbeard were obviously foes. Yes, I heard Blackbeard had been murdered. God rest his soul. We might have been adversaries, but nobody deserves to be poisoned by a coward. Can you think of anyone who might have killed Blackbeard? Blackbeard was a pirate. There are dozens of people out for our blood. But pirates like us don't settle our differences murdering each other on land. We fight each other at sea. And now that Blackbeard's gone, I'll never have the honor of defeating him in battle. Trading Company, Captain Shafra. This compass belongs to a certain Captain Shafra from the Egyptian fleet, Matthew. I wonder what that's doing here. As far as we know, the Egyptians aren't forming an alliance with pirates to acquire the trade routes. But who knows what the Ptolemies are willing to do to alter the timeline. Let's speak with this Captain Shafra and find out what's going on. But be cautious, Matthew. We've no idea what we're dealing with. Captain Shafra, we'd like to ask you some questions about Blackbeard's murder. So you're the privateers who've been poking around. Word travels fast in Port Braxton. We found your compass. What was it doing on Blackbeard's ship? It was in there because that scoundrel stole it. Blackbeard and his crew attacked us and ransacked my cargo not long ago. A crate of rum was all I had left. I'm one of the most decorated captains in the Egyptian fleet. My ancestors were all seafarers dating back to Cleopatra's reign. I won't stand for such provocation. So pirates are a concern to the Egyptian Trading Company. They're the scourge of the ocean. Fortunately, we've improved our security since Blackbeard's attack, so pirates no longer pose a threat. I didn't kill Blackbeard, but I'm not sorry he's dead. The Seven Seas are better off without him. And I'll let the poem run its course. So for now, this is Matthew. I'll see you soon. Alright folks, we've come back. Let's get the results of the poem from Orlando. The times were hard and the wages low. The grub was bad and the gales did blow. But treasure lies on the path we row, so onward do we sail. What are you singing, Orlando? It's a sea shanty, Matthew. That poem you found in the victim's drawer is actually a sailor's song. The rhythmical nature of these maritime work songs made laborious tasks more tolerable for hard-working seafarers. The language of this particular song indicates it was composed by the killer. And the chorus repeatedly describes Blackbeard's voyage to Davy Jones's locker, a euphemism for seafarer's afterlife. Which leads me to conclude Blackbeard's killer is well versed in singing sea shanties. That's music to my ears, Matthew. We're looking for a killer who sings sea shanties. And given this murder was obviously premeditated, we should comb the scene of the crime for more clues. There we go. And I still got the first star. Sharp eye, Matthew. That metal trunk has an engraving of the victim on it. It must have belonged to Blackbeard. Do you think there's gold inside? Let's unlock this chest and find out. But I wonder what those broken pieces of board are. Let's put them back together. Ooh. Wow, Matthew, there really is gold in this trunk. Look at all this loot. You're right, there are purple fingerprints all over this gold. I wonder what that means. Let's have Theo examine them. Crow's Nest Tavern. Ooh. That broken board is a drinks menu from the Crow's Nest Tavern, Matthew. And look, ale is now being sold as Blackbeard's Doom, and it costs 3 times the original price. The Crow's Nest owner, Lincoln Matuzak, seems pretty shaken by Blackbeard's murder. But apparently he's happy to take advantage of the situation and profit from the pirate's death. Mr. Matuzak needs to explain himself. Ah, the privateer's return. Have some of me finest rum. Perhaps you should order a regular mug of ale, or a Blackbeard's Doom as you seem to be calling it now. Yeah, man, that's just what? Taking advantage of a man's murder is what it looks like. Listen, man, Blackbeard be the most vicious pirate of the 7 seas, and he died right here in my tavern. The Crow's Nest will be the most famous bar in all the Caribbean. I've been singing a new sea shanty about it all morning. It seems you'll profit a great deal from Blackbeard's death, which is rather suspicious, considering he was murdered in your tavern. It'd all be chance, nothing more. Like a game of liar's dice. We take what life gives us. Blackbeard's bad luck is my good fortune. And I'll see you guys when Blackbeard's gold is finished. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of Blackbeard's gold. How ironic, Matthew. The fingerprints on Blackbeard's gold are in pristine condition. If we were in the 21st century, I'd have a match on these in no time. But in the age of sail, fingerprint identification was non-existent. I have no records to compare them to. Does that mean it's a dead end? Not entirely. You see, this purple substance the fingerprints are made of is lye soap residue. Lye soap? Why is that so important? Lye soap is commonly used on seafaring vessels to swab the decks, so these fingerprints are probably left behind by one of Blackbeard's crewmen. Wait, Matthew's right. Rags told us that he swabs the decks of the Black Sparrow. So what was Rags doing rifling through his captain's personal stash of gold? Let's go ask him. Alright, Rags, we need to... Don't talk so loudly, my head is gonna explode. I'm never touching another drop of rum again. Now that you've sobered up, perhaps you can explain what you were doing with Blackbeard's gold. It was really daft of me trying to steal from the captain. I should have never put my grubby little hands on them coins. But I saw the chest open in the captain's office, so I figured he wouldn't miss a handful. But he did miss them, didn't he? Yeah, I said I was sorry, but he wouldn't listen. He said I didn't get to be the most feared pirate on the 7 seas by being merciful. I was a dead man. If Blackbeard hadn't been murdered today, I would have walked the plank tomorrow. How convenient for you that Blackbeard's dead. If it turns out you killed him, your crew might yet make you walk the plank. Blackbeard's reputation as the fiercest of all pirates seems well founded, Matthew. He certainly had no shortage of enemies, which makes our murder investigation all the more difficult. Pirate Mary Read readily admits she and the victim were cutthroat rivals, while Captain Schaffer from the Egyptian Trading Company says he's quite happy Blackbeard is dead after he ransacked his cargo. Even the victim's own crewman was pilfering from him. In the face of so many adversaries, who wouldn't want Blackbeard dead? Matthew, you need to get down to the dock right away. Mary Read is fighting with Rags. They're about to kill each other. Oh boy. And we'll see you guys for Chapter 3. Don't go anywhere. We are back. Let's start Chapter 3 of A Pirate's Death for Me. We last left off with this. The last thing I want to do is get between two quarreling pirates. But we've already got one murder on our hands. We better break this up, Matthew. If anyone's going to be captain of the Black Sparrow, it's me. Codswallop, you're just a worthless drunk with a wooden eye. And I'd pull out the other one before I'd serve another woman. Alright, that's enough. Everyone just calm down. But she... Never mind. Until Blackbeard's killer has been found, the Black Sparrow is off limits. Alright, privateer, but mark my words, this isn't over. That was close, Matthew. We don't need any more bloodshed. Now since we're here, let's go aboard the Black Sparrow and search Blackbeard's quarters again. There's the flowers. Hard to miss this clue. Dead albatross. Oh my god! What's a dead albatross doing on Blackbeard's desk, Matthew? Remember the scene of that mafia movie with the horse's head? Dead animals are clearly meant as a threat. A sample of those red strands might tell us what this bird is all about. And a bouquet of flowers isn't what I'd expect to find in Blackbeard's quarters. Let's dust that car to find out where they come from. Meanwhile, those guns you found are dueling pistols, Matthew. I wonder if Blackbeard's been dueling with someone. If we unlock that case, we can work out whether those guns have been recently fired. A lot of people would happily see Blackbeard dead, but it's up to us to find out who actually made that happen. The card on those flowers reads, "You can give this to the Ferris in another port." And it's been signed by that fruit vendor, Isola Aldred. Miss Aldred said she had nothing to do with pirates, let alone Blackbeard. But this card tells a different story. Let's ask Miss Aldred about this. Miss Aldred, why didn't you tell us you and Blackbeard were romantically involved? It's true, Blackbeard was once the object of my affection, but he quickly became an object of scorn. I met him during a game of liar's dice. He was so dashing. You'll not find a man his equal on 1,000 islands. And he was so romantic. I thought we were in love. I even composed sea shanties for him so he'd sing about me on his long voyages. So why the angry card? Something must have changed. Well, I found out about Rita in Port Roberts, Tina in Kingston, Sandra in... Need I say more? He had a girl in every port. Blackbeard was only interested in my melons, and I don't mean the ones I sell. Not hard to figure out which ones. Not hard to figure out what melons those are. Got it. And I got the 9 in time. You vacuumed up a decent sample of the red strands from that dead albatross, Matthew. Let's get them under the microscope. Bet this is dog hair. No, it's saffron. Okay. Those red strands you collected off that dead albatross are saffron, Matthew. That's an expensive commodity, even in 2029. In this time period, saffron would have been shipped to the Caribbean from North Africa, most likely by the Egyptian Trading Company. Which means Captain Shafra is responsible for this dead bird. His disdain for Blackbeard was obvious, but this is particularly gruesome. Let's grill Captain Shafra about this. Captain Shafra, whatever compels you to send Blackbeard a dead albatross? How did you know that it was me? Fine, I sent that dead bird as a harbinger for bad luck. Payback for what Blackbeard stole from me. When Blackbeard took all of my cargo, the fleet held me personally responsible. I was ordered by Pharaoh Ramses the 43rd, by Ramses the 29th himself, to work a week on the lower decks, on my own ship. There I was, singing sea shanties with the crewmen like a slave. It was humiliating. I even had to pay for the entire shipment. It's taken me weeks of playing liar's dice to win back what I lost. Revenge is a powerful motive for murder, Captain. We've seen it many times before. By Horus, I would have killed him if I got the chance. But someone else got to him first. I made it to level 484, so I'm going to share this. that gun case open, Matthew. Let's have Kai examine these pistols to determine whether they were recently fired. Alright, this is 9 hours. I'll have all stars collected by then. So hopefully, we'll put a killer behind bars pretty soon. As I said, I'll have all the rest of these stars collected. So for now, this is Matthew. I'll see you soon. Okay, we have come back. Let's get the results of the gun case from Kai. I thought you were Orlando, Matthew. He's been popping in to admire Blackbeard's dueling pistols ever since he sent them down. Not only do these weapons belong to one of the most famous pirates in history, these guns would normally be antiques, but in this time period, they're brand new. Have you worked out whether they've been fired recently? I did, and no. The carbon residue on the barrels indicates the pistols haven't been used in months. But I think Blackbeard was planning on using them soon. How can you tell? I opened up the chamber and found this bullet. It's been engraved with the name Mary Reed. Mary Reed? She never mentioned anything about a duel. I wonder if she knows about this. Let's ask her and find out. I'm a little bit behind because I meant to get the results last night and I completely forgot. Ah, Privateer Matthew. I'm composing a sea shanty for my crew. Can you think of a word that rhymes with barnacle? We'd rather ask you about this bullet. Were you and Blackbeard going to fight a duel? Yes, I was the one who challenged him to prove that I was the better pirate. It was going to be pistols at dawn tomorrow. Although my crew tried to persuade me to call it off on account of my injured hand. But you weren't worried? Because if you were, Blackbeard's murder conveniently gets you off the hook. You filthy rapskillions! I never backed down from a fight, and I would certainly never resort to murder. I could have beaten him blindfolded with one hand tied behind my back. Blackbeard lived such a dangerous life, Matthew. I'm surprised he hadn't been killed long ago. Captain Schaffer from the Egyptian Trading Company sent Blackbeard a dead albatross, a promise of revenge for being ransacked by his crew. Mary Reed, on the other hand, challenged Blackbeard to a duel, claiming she was unaffected by her injured hand. Perhaps she decided it was easier just to poison him instead. And Isola Aldred, one of Blackbeard's many apparent love interests, was devastated that she was just another girl in a port. Whatever their motive, someone took it upon themselves to murder him, and we need to find them. We do know the killer was at the markets. That's where they got the orange they used to poison Blackbeard, so let's go back and do another sweep for clues. Took a little too long on some of them. Oh. I got the first star anyway. Nice. Look at that bottle, Matthew. It's obviously poison, and judging by its color, it's the toxin the killer used to murder Blackbeard. A sample of that creamy substance on the outside of the bottle could give us another lead on the killer. And I agree, rummaging through that sack of fruit might also turn up a clue, so let's dig in. Alright.
He says he's had his private slapped by the KGB, so he's not afraid of the nurse.
So I apologize on the any noise. You hear any? Finally. Dang. I had to go the long way around. Matthew, let's rush that sample you collected off the killer's poison bottle to the lab. Got it. A syringe. Yikes, Matthew. There's a syringe inside that sack of fruit. You're right. This must be how the killer injected the poison into the orange that ultimately killed Blackbeard. This syringe clearly belongs to the killer, so let's have Janice give it a thorough examination. I'll be speeding these up later. So for now, this is Matthew. I'll see you soon. Okay, we have returned, and we're going to get the results here. That sample you found on the killer's bottle of poison is an interesting clue, Matthew, with a local twist. How so, Theo? The substance is an aloe vera-based ointment, common in many types of skin cream. However, the hot sun and powerful ocean breezes of the Caribbean have made the aloe vera native to these islands highly resilient. And while the people of this time period don't understand the science behind it, they've realized aloe vera is extremely effective for treating scar tissue. Now, given that this scar ointment was found on the killer's poison bottle, then it stands to reason the killer has a scar. Let's add that to their profile, Matthew. Alright, and let's go ahead and speed up the syringe. There's no doubt this syringe belonged to Blackbeard's killer, Matthew. There are traces of tetrodotoxin on the needle. And it's a perfect match for the hole where the poison was injected into the lethal orange. That's good news, Janice. Since the killer handled this syringe, did they leave behind any other incriminating evidence? Indeed they did. Although the instrument was wiped clean, I found minute traces of gold, flakes so tiny they're only detectable under a microscope. Now, even on a microscopic level, I can see the gold fragments have been tarnished by exposure to the natural oils of the skin. This is consistent with the metal on gold earrings. And because we know the syringe belongs to the killer, we can conclude they're wearing a gold earring. So our killer wears a gold earring, Matthew. That won't be hard to spot. You've navigated the treacherous waters of this case, Matthew. It's time we brought Blackbeard's killer to justice. Wait a minute, let me look. No. No. No scar on Mary Reed. And no earring on Captain Shafro. Okay, I took my time. It is Lincoln Matuzak. I've got to hand it to you, Matuzak. It's a bold move, murdering a pirate like Blackbeard in front of your own tavern. What? You be saying I killed Blackbeard? I swear on the Jesus, man. I didn't murder anyone. We know you planned it in advance. We read that sea shanty you wrote, as well as your plans to inject the venom into that orange. We even found your bottle of poison and the syringe you used to inject it with. You sure went to a lot of trouble to make a few extra pounds on beer. Do you think I care about that? Blackbeard's murder be worth far more than that. I killed him so I could steal a map to Rackham's lost treasure. Treasure? What are you talking about? Jeez, Brett, I should have never opened my mouth. You see, them pirates come in here telling their tall tales. Someone saw the Kraken. Another says he's cursed by the devil. But Blackbeard was different. When he told a story, you knew he'd be telling the truth. So 2 weeks ago, when Blackbeard let it slip he had a map to Rackham's lost treasure, I knew it was no fairy tale. Blackbeard trusted nobody, keeping that map in his coat. Stealing that was my chance to make a fortune. But I knew once I'd taken the map, I'd have to kill Blackbeard. He'd never be rested until he got it back. So I bought that orange and injected it with poison, waiting for Blackbeard to return. When he arrived this morning, I snatched the map from his pocket while he ordered a drink, and I gave him the poisoned fruit. And where is this treasure map now? You think I'll be telling you that? I hid it where nobody will find it. Only I know the location of Rackham's treasure. Well, it won't do you any good in prison. We're handing you over to the authorities. What an investigation, Matthew. Dueling pistols, crewmen ordered to walk the plank, treasure maps and pirate ships. And to top it all off, Blackbeard was poisoned by a local tavern owner. Now that Mr. Matuzak is safely behind bars, we must focus our attention on the Egyptian Trading Company. We know that the Ptolemy dynasty manipulated the course of history in this time period in order to rule in 2029. They achieved this by successfully bidding for Louis XV's ports and plantations at the Tortuga auction. But that's not how history is supposed to play out, Matthew. We must find a way to stop the Egyptian Trading Company from winning that auction. And we'll see you guys for Sink or Swim 2-5. And we've returned. Let's start Sink or Swim 2-5. Matthew, although we've caught Blackbeard's killer, this murder will no doubt create a power struggle in the Caribbean. Blackbeard's rivals will be fiercely scrambling for command of the Black Sparrow. A war between the pirate factions is the last thing we need as we try to safely navigate towards the auction in Tortuga, which is why we must figure out who is Blackbeard's rightful heir. Pirates may be outlaws, but they still operate according to a certain code. Honor among thieves, if you will. Ship captains customarily have a deed of ownership stipulating what's to become of their vessel and crew in case of their death. We must find Blackbeard's deed to determine the fate of the Black Sparrow. I realize this is important, Orlando, but what about that treasure map Lincoln Matuzak spoke about? Shouldn't we look for that? Treasure map? We don't even know if that exists. All we have is the word of a cold-blooded killer. Matuzak was convinced the map he stole from Blackbeard would lead to Rackham's lost treasure. So much so, he was willing to kill for it. Hunting for treasure might not be a bad idea, Privateer Matthew. If you can spare a moment, I have something of vital importance to discuss. Very well, Captain Shadrach. We shall avail ourselves. Meanwhile, Orlando, Privateer Matthew will join you at the Black Sparrow to look for Blackbeard's deed of ownership. Found the deed. Make it work. This ship is simply marvelous, Matthew, standing in the office of Blackbeard himself on the infamous Black Sparrow. You're right, I must remain focused. And that torn document you found does look like a deed of ownership, but it certainly won't be legally valid in such a state. If we're to determine the command of the Black Sparrow, Matthew, we must repair that deed. Got it. Well done, Matthew. You repaired that deed of ownership. It's a legally binding document once again. You see this word indenture? That's an old-fashioned term for an agreement. So whatever this deed stipulates is set in stone. I'll need some time to examine the specific conditions of this deed. I'll let you know when I'm finished. Now, Captain Shadrach, what's of vital importance, and how does it involve treasure? I received some disturbing news regarding the upcoming auction in Tortuga. The East India Company is prepared to bid up to 20,000 euros to acquire Louis XV's trade routes. Or liras, I'm not sure how you... However, my sources have informed me that the Egyptians are capable of bidding twice that amount. So unless you really do know where we can find lost treasure, we're doomed. Well, we've yet to determine its veracity, but the man who murdered Blackbeard claims to have hidden a map leading to Rackham's treasure. Rackham's treasure? Why, that's legendary. It's said to be worth a fortune unimaginable. If you can get your hands on that map and find that treasure, Privateer Matthew, those trade routes are as good as ours. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go grill Lincoln Matuzak about that map. If this scheme pans out, Privateer Matthew, you'll have earned your weekly wages. You again? What you be wanting now? We're here about Rackham's lost treasure. Where can we find the map you stole from Blackbeard? Why would I tell you that? I've hidden that map where nobody can find it. When I get out of here, my fortune awaits. You're a convicted murderer. You won't be getting out of here for a long time. I'm a patient man. I wait. And nobody would think to look inside that peg leg at the crow's nest. Jeez of bread, what am I doing? So you hid the treasure map inside a peg leg at your tavern? Very ingenious. You're right. We probably never would have found it. It doesn't matter. That map won't do you any good. Legend says you can only read it under the light of a solar eclipse. We'll take our chances. Now, Privateer Matthew, let's go find that map at the tavern. Got it. Another 10,000. I've got to hand it to Mr. Matuzak for letting it slip where he'd hidden Rackham's treasure map. It must be in that hollowed out peg leg you've picked up, Matthew. Let's crack that lock and take a look. No. There we are. There is a map inside this peg leg, Matthew, but there aren't any markings on it. It doesn't even have a compass to indicate what direction is north. Those islands could be anywhere. Let's have Penelope examine this map, Matthew. If anyone can figure this out, it's her. Six hours. I'll see you guys when both of these are done. So for now, this is Matthew. See you soon. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of the ship ownership deed. Yep. Although Blackbeard's deed of ownership is written in English, Matthew, some of the language is very archaic, so I've enlisted Penelope's assistance. You sure don't hear people talking about orlops or dung bees in 2029? Now, Blackbeard's deed stipulates that in the event of his death, command of the Black Sparrow shall be passed to his next of kin. Unfortunately, Blackbeard doesn't have any children. However, the document goes on to mention some alternative candidates to succeed Blackbeard as the Black Sparrow's captain. And topping the list is Mary Reed. Although they were sworn enemies, Blackbeard apparently held a deep respect for Reed's capabilities as a seafarer. And Reed's reputation as an influential pirate is well documented. I find myself in agreement with Blackbeard, Matthew. Command of the Black Sparrow should be given to Mary Reed. And we certainly know Reed wants to be captain of the Black Sparrow, so I have no doubt she'll accept the job when we offer it to her. Hats off to you, Privateer Matthew, for catching Blackbeard's killer. I'm glad that chicken-hearted wretch is behind bars. As are we. We're here to talk to you about Blackbeard's ship, the Black Sparrow. We've examined the ship's deed of ownership, and Blackbeard named you as a candidate to succeed him as captain in the event of his death. Well, blimey, that crusty old sea dog was a man of taste after all. I'm honored to accept, but I doubt Blackbeard's crew will be especially welcoming. You saw how that fellow Rags behaved. Rags can hardly argue with the direct orders of his former commander, but I do think there's a way to soften him up. It's pretty clear Rags is partial to some liquid courage. Perhaps if you gave him a bottle of Port Braxton's finest whiskey, he'd warm up to the idea. Privateer Matthew and I will head to the market and see what we can find. Fair winds, Privateer Matthew, and have something to eat before you go. No dice. I think we're onto something, Matthew. If we can find Rags a decent bottle of whiskey, he may well accept Mary Reed as his captain. And that bottle you picked up is definitely liquor of some kind. Let's dust off that label and see if it's something we can use. Got it. So this is a bottle of whiskey, Matthew. The Wobbly Sailor. That sounds right up Rags' alley. This whiskey should soften the blow when we tell Rags about his new captain. Let's accompany Mary Reed to break the news. Ahoy, crewman Rags! I bring you... What the devil are you doing here? I warned you this wasn't over. I'm here to declare a truce, and as the new captain of the Black Sparrow, I've got this bottle of Port Braxton's finest whiskey as a peace offering. The new captain? What are you on about? It's all here in Blackbeard's deed of ownership. He believes it was in everyone's best interest that I take command of the Black Sparrow. And as captain, it's my job to look after the best interests of my crew. There's plenty more whiskey where that came from. Well, I guess if it's what the captain wanted, and I've never met a bottle of whiskey I didn't like. You're all right, Mary Reed. Welcome aboard the Black Sparrow, Captain. Someone went to a lot of trouble to conceal the details of this treasure map, Matthew. But 18th century ingenuity is no match for 21st century technology. How do you mean? First of all, I determined the location of this map by digitally overlaying it across all known topographical records. This is a partial map of the Eastern Caribbean, just 50 nautical miles from Port Braxton. But how does that help us find Rackham's treasure? There's nothing on here. That's where 18th century ingenuity comes in. To the naked eye, this map has no markings, but then I reflected it on what Mr. Matuzak said, that it was only readable during a solar eclipse. You see, during a solar eclipse, ultraviolet light is intensified, so I asked Theo to view the map under a black light, and voila! You can clearly see a pathway marked to Rackham's treasure. This pathway was drawn using a special pigment only visible through ultraviolet light, an archaic form of invisible ink. And if X marks the spot, we should find Rackham's treasure on this island. Can you believe this, Matthew? We're going on a real-life treasure hunt. Let's show this map to Captain Shadrach so we can set sail. Privateer Matthew, you found the map to Rackham's treasure. What a stroke of luck. Indeed. Are you familiar with this region? That's the complicated part. Those islands lie in treacherous waters and are nearly impossible to reach. It's the perfect place to hide a stockpile of priceless treasure. Those waters are riddled with reefs that would tear the ship apart. But although it's an extremely dangerous expedition, I'm confident it's worth the risk. Then it's settled. If we can find that treasure, we'll have more than enough to outbid the Egyptians in Tortuga and gain control over the trade routes. Privateer Matthew, you'll need this if we're to navigate those waters. I'll make preparations to set sail and let you know when we're ready. Orlando's briefed me about the Black Sparrow, Matthew. With Mary Read at the helm, I believe the ship's in good hands. In spite of Blackbeard's murder, we prevented the region from plunging into a pirate war, making our passage through these waters somewhat smoother. Which is perfect, because we found a map leading to Rackham's lost treasure. And if we can find that, not only will it fulfill my childhood dreams, we'll also have enough money to outbid the Egyptian trading company at the Tortuga auction. This is it, Matthew. This is our chance to prevent the Ptolemies from gaining control of the trade routes and hijacking history itself. But we better be careful. Amon might already be on our trail, and he won't like us interfering with his plans. Pardon me, Privateer Matthew, but we must pull up anchor now. There's a storm moving in, and we need to stay ahead of it. Batten down the hatches. We're setting sail for Rackham's treasure. When will this storm end, Matthew? We've been out here for hours and it's only getting worse. I don't know how long I can take these waves. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. Bring down the mainsail. Captain, what's going on? We're in the middle of a hurricane. If we don't drop anchor now, we'll be blown off course. You must... Dear God, reef, reef, swing hard to port, hard to... Whoa. Okay. August 14th, which is a Wednesday. Okay, so I can get started on this tomorrow. At most. That's 2 days. Okay, that'll do. Oh. So we'll see you guys on August 14th. So for now, this is Matthew. I'll see you soon.